Hi guys. I've been noticing some questions about how to keep things in line and stuff, so I figured the easiest way for me to answer would be to show you. So I'm finishing up my liner. So this is actually going to be the liner for Angelina for the swap. So this is the core. It's just 2 layers of flannel. And I'm just going to run a line of stitches, and I just did my bobbin, so I'm going to even have to rethread here. But I'm just going to run a line of stitches down the middle because I do a decorative stitch around the edge of the topper that attaches the topper to the core, and that is how I keep the topper and the core from being lopsided and all kinds of crazy. So I actually don't have a pedal for this machine, so I always use the hand control. And I bought this machine at a flea market, and it was a fantastic deal. It's the Brother 6000i, CS 6000i, and I got it for 20 bucks. So great deal, but it doesn't have a foot. So I am all about the hand control. And back stitch to make sure that it's all locked in place. And this is just to keep the core together, because with itself, not even with the pad, because the pad's going to all be securely. So this will stop it from moving within it and scrunching. Okay, so let's take that off. Now, here's the topper for hers. That's the purple rose. And you can see my blue lines. I use the blue pencil because it's either that I have a white and a gray, and sometimes those don't mark, so then I resort to these guys, which are fantastic, but air takes them away. So as great as they are, just sitting, not being done, then the lines will disappear. So if you're not immediately doing it when you're sewing, if you're not immediately sewing while you're marking, those are no good. And that's my oldest son. So now I just line it up here, and I am going to put a different foot on here. This is a 1/4 inch hem foot that keeps me having, you can put that in the pantry. I'm recording a video. So I put a regular end foot on this because I'm going to do a decorative stitch. Okay, so that's an end foot going on here. Now I am just going to line this up and make sure that my core is nicely on my topper. And I am going to use pins. I also have the clips, but the clips don't work unless you have like they're on the outside. And since I'm sewing within a circle, and I'm going to put this all together, then the clips don't work for me here. They just make it harder for me. So we just use the pins. And I use a couple of pins and just get it in place. Make sure it's not going to move on me while I'm sewing. 3 pins is good. And let's stick it on the machine. And I'm going to do a stitch 16 on my Brother 6000i. It is a Chikijaga stitch. I don't know what you call it. I like it. It's pretty. I'll show you one that's done. This one doesn't stand up much, but you can see it there. Right. Anyway, let's move on. I'll show it to you better in a minute. So we always do a back stitch, and I've just positioned myself around the edge so it's not going to get caught in the top stitch when I turn it. Go play with Ben, please. And top stitch, back stitch, and we're just going to start the machine. And The machine does all the work. I just direct the fabric where I want it to go. I am just steering it. Now, every once in a while I'll find that it catches the edge of the fabric or bunches, and I just stop it, fix it, and move on. Okay, tell Buddy, he'll fix it for you. Okay, and so we go around the edge of the core, and we are sewing it to the outer edge. I have no idea what my children are breaking. This is the problem with doing videos with my kids awake, I guess. And that last one, the last pin was a little low, so I'm taking that out as I sew through. This is my kiddo Ben. He is 2 years old. If you can just see his head. And my cat, who is always helping me with sewing, aka holding the fabric down.
Sewing machine.
Yes, sewing machine, that's right.
On sewing machine.
Yeah, we don't want him on the sewing machine. So,
On sewing machine.
this one's going to get in the way too, so I'm just going to take those pins out. I actually don't have a tomato, so I just kind of set them on my thing and pick them up afterwards.
I want.
I'm going around the top now. Now, I started doing an exposed tour, not realizing, because I didn't like turning top stitch, because the turning part was challenging for me, and getting that to close without you being able to see that that was, you know, one hole. And I'm back around, so I'm just going to do a back stitch to close it up. Up.
Look it off now.
Snip it off. And I don't know why, but for me, this last piece of thread, from the very beginning, always gets stuck in, and I have to pull it out. So, pull that off, snip it out, and this one's going to be a whole lot easier to see that pretty decorative stitch than the other one was. So, and that's how it's attached to the pad. So this is not going to twist a bunch or do anything crazy like this. It is firmly attached to the topper. Now, like this little square, now my cores are not perfect, so when things don't quite match up, then we just trim and fix it. This one looks pretty good, except down here where it's a little large. I just don't want it to interfere with when I do the outer stitch. So, now I do separate wings, obviously, with this pattern. So my wings can be different, and sometimes that's fun, depending on what you're working with. I had a bunch of smaller pieces of fabric this time that were really, really pretty, and I wanted to use them, so I was kind of mixing and matching, and that's my phone dinging. And so I cut in a big batch just to make my life easier, because I typically do a lot of pads at once, so I'm getting kind of used to that. So this time I think I've done 18, plus I had, plus the Halloween, so I have 27 that I'm doing, and so I finished all the liners today, so that's 9. So not too bad. Anyway, so now we're going to sew along with this line here, and then I'm going to trim it in. So we're going to go back to a straight line stitch. We're going to do a 1. This is going to go pretty quick. Straight up the line. This has actually been a pattern to master for me. This having the wings be separate has been a bit of a challenge, because instead of sewing just 2 pieces together, now you've got 4 pieces, and everything wants to move. So we're going to sew them both up, and then I'm going to cut them together. Needle down, stitch. I'm going to try to be precise as I can on the line. Are you alright? Crazy 2-year-old. Okay. And then these wings are both done. And then I have a handy dandy little trash can right here. So we're going to trim this down. It's going to look like a wing. And you don't want to trim it too close, because, well, if you're in there, that's no good. So I left the bottom open because it's going to get sewn into the pad. And so there's one wing. Now I'm going to take this one, trim it again. Okay. And this is where that 1/4 inch template comes in handy. So your top stitch, everybody wants it uniform and get it to look pretty. And I tried and I tried and I tried every which way when I was first starting out to get the top stitch line to be even. I couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't that I wasn't letting the machine do the work. It was just trying to get the lines to move straight with the fabric. It was hard for me. So this 1/4 inch foot has just fixed that for me. Now I put this edge on the edge of the foot where it's supposed to go, and I go until it's about 1/4 inch away from the end, and I can check that. If it's not, I go again until it is, and then I just move around, and it makes a nice even edge. So that gives you that uniform look to your top stitch. Something I really struggled with in the beginning until I realized that the easiest way to do it was with the foot. So, strings, and we have a nice, even kind of foot. Alright, so now we're going to do the other wing. Back stitch, and we're done. Now the next hardest thing in this pattern is lining everything up. So then you take the front of your pad and you mark with your fingers where the end of the wing is supposed to be. And then I usually stick a pin through in the middle so I know where it goes. And I do it again on the other side. That way they're little finders for where the wing is going to go. So now you line up the center width of the wing to that and make sure that, and this is where you have to just keep flipping back and forth. You have to make sure that the line where you're going to sew these entire wings are outside of that line, because if they're not, your wing won't be attached and it's not good. So you want to make sure the whole thing is fixed so that your wing will be attached and that it's as straight as humanly possible. I use a card to double check and make sure that they are straight. Sometimes they still end up off visually, but that's the best way that I've found to do it. So then I take this in the middle here and I pin the wings so that they are stuck in place and the pin is on the upside. So that's the side I'm going to sew, so I don't want it to get caught in the machine. And then I can take this pin out. And then here's the backer. And this is just the liner, so I'm not using waterproof. So this is the liner, so this will be a reversible liner. So this is the back, and we line it up so that it is completely covering your line on the back for the pad. And then we pin this in place. Sorry, my kids are being silly. They're playing Minecraft or so. Okay, so I end up with a cross pin in the middle to hold everything in place. Now you can use the clips. I don't have my clips handy. I don't know where to go off to. But now you can use the clips to put this all together. Well, that's disappointing. My clips were new. I like those. Oops. My computer went to sleep. Okay, it didn't stop recording. Okay, anyway, I can't demonstrate the clips for you because I just don't see them. But, either way, you can use the clips at this point to clip it together because you have two raw edges to clip to, and that makes it easier. And those are with the Embroidex or whatever brand you get. I think I got 50 clips for $10 on Amazon, which is a lot less expensive than the ones I saw at Walmart. So I'm going to go back to the regular foot rather than the 1/4 inch foot, because the 1/4 inch foot will catch the edge of the fabric as you're turning and stuff, and it's no good. No bueno. So, this is longer than I anticipated, but I want to make sure that you guys can see how I do it. So, I get that lined up, and I always sew stitch 1 with this machine, so it's always in the middle position. Excuse me. Oh, pardon me. Okay, so we go needle down. So I got everything straight. And now remember, you're starting from playing so that you can do your turn. You want to remember to leave your turn hole Leave it big enough that you can turn, yet small enough that you're not going to be struggling to get it lined up. Also, don't leave your turn hole on a turn because those just never close right. The easiest pattern to lose a turn on are straight patterns with a straight edge. And sometimes I kick myself for using a curvy pad because I try very hard to get that right. And sometimes I do. Sometimes it's not perfect. So, we finished going around here. Almost done. And we back stitch to make sure that that is secure because that is our turning hole. And we want to make sure that that's going to be strong enough to withstand our turn. So then we always have excess because unless you're serging, you don't want to leave yourself sewing the edges because you can end up where you miss the edge completely. And that's not much fun. It turns into a big hassle. So this is actually the better way to do it if you're looking for a tip and trick, is to leave it just slightly oversized and then trim it out after you're done. So it's a little bit more trimming involved. Scissor work, but so I'm just going to take our pins out here. And I left a rather large turning hole because this is 22 minutes already, and I don't want you to have to watch all this. You don't want to. And so we turn and we turn and we turn, and you know what's fabulous to have for turning, and not just for this, for lots of other things too, is chopsticks. My local Chinese restaurant actually has chopsticks. And so when we go in there, I grab an extra set when I start to get those beat up, or my kids run off with them because they like to try and eat with chopsticks. So that helps to turn things and get the corners all straight. So we get this out as straight as we can, and you see how it comes out. And my wings are fully attached. And there goes a cup. That was my coffee cup. And I use the chopstick to just pull out the sides. And also another tip, don't cut yourself short on the turning hole. Leave extra fabric so that you can adjust your closure. And if you happen to leave yourself enough room, then you don't have to close it separately than doing your quarter turn. And so that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to do a top stitch, and I'm going to use that 1/4 inch split again. I'm going to top it off and change it, and this is the story of my life. All day. Change between these 2 feet. And it doesn't seem to matter what project I do, it's always these 2 feet. I do use other feet, but predominantly it's these 2. So we're going to back stitch to make sure we lock in our seam. And we start over our turning hole. Make sure that that's all closed up. And we go over it so that the outside edge of the pad is running along the guide for the foot. And again, we're letting the machine do all the work. We are just driving just searing, that's all. And especially with these liners, then there's nothing to the fabric, so it's not exceptionally bulky. And you don't have to do any pulling or anything. If you're doing like a postpartum pad with 3 layers of absorb and pull and everything else, then you might end up needing a walking foot to go over it because it gets pretty thick and things just aren't moving properly. So that's it. I'm all the way around. Bring this out, snip it off, and we check it, make sure that everything is all closed up. Snip off all of our little Aran strings, and then it's ready for snapping. And that's it. That's Angelina's pad. I'm going to snap it here with the rest of them, and it's ready to go. So I hope that answers some questions for you. Let me know if I can answer any more. Thank you for watching. Bye.